Harry Potter used to be a huge deal. I remember staying up till midnight to pick up Order of the Phoenix, and this huge crowd of people all just standing in line to get this one book.
They put this game out to line up with the release of the very first Harry Potter movie.
You got a movie coming out in just a few short weeks. Here's a card game so you can play Harry Potter while you wait to watch Harry Potter. That's great. That's good stuff.
And it was a success. It was like the second best highest selling toy at the time.
For whatever reason, Wizards of the Coast did not hold on to the license for Harry Potter. You'll hear things about a lawsuit, about the price of art prints.
TCGs require a lot of investment. The license fees were very high.
Not only did it die, but it died after only 5 short sets, but it didn't stay dead for very long.
I found out there was a Discord, I found out that there was a website, and that there were plans to kind of revive the game and start making new sets. I decided I really wanted to be involved in it.
I was at my local German flea market the other day, which had some very normal, very desirable items on display. Some of them were a bit out of my budget, but for €3, I found the ultimate nostalgia trip. The Harry Potter trading card game, complete with rubber band, keeping it old school.
It's a simple spell. My Remember All can take care of that spell.
My parents lost so much money after Child Me saw commercials like these. While still a popular franchise today, there are few things that have influenced the cultural zeitgeist quite like Harry Potter once did. It really did seem like if you were a child growing up in the mid-2000s, you read Harry Potter. Wizards of the Coast, they of Magic and Pokemon card fame, recognized that fact and pounced on a licensing deal to produce the official Harry Potter trading card game. It sounded like a surefire recipe for success, but as that same Wizards of the Coast knows, it's not always easy to license an IP for a trading card game. You're beholden to contracts and licensing issues that can impede with what you'd like to do creatively. In some cases, it's enough to kill the game entirely, no matter how popular the product or franchise is. I managed to get in touch with one of the old designers of the game who was granted anonymity for their candor. Granted anonymity, look at me, like I'm some kind of real journalist or something. I'm not a real journalist, I just like looking at dead card games. But they were willing to give some of the reasons why they think the card game might have died, which we will explore. But that's not the end of the story, as the Harry Potter TCG has seen a revival effort from a dedicated group of players. I sat down with Sammy, part of the team who has worked hard over these last many years to bring their beloved card game back from the dead and reclaim the franchise for the fans. Many of you have expressed that you enjoy my videos on dead card games, and I'm so glad. I'm thinking of putting together a Patreon for those who want to support my work further. I'm just making sure I have enough value to provide to justify it. But there is a very free way you can help me too. Simply by watching this video and others on my channel, leaving a like and a comment. These are all ways to help YouTube push my channel and help it grow and allow me to continue to make videos for you. So without further ado, we must ask the question. In a world full of licensed material, why did people care so much about this game? What made it so special that a group of fans want to bring it back? The Harry Potter TCG was a beautiful card game, at least aesthetically. How could it not be? With art direction inspired by the fairy tale-esque book covers. But the cards didn't align with the releases of the books. The fourth book, Goblet of Fire, had already released by the time 2001 rolled around. But what was releasing soon was the new Harry Potter movie, based on the first book. This was seen as a golden opportunity by Warner Brothers, who held the licensing rights to the films and other merchandise opportunities. After seeing how Wizards of the Coast licensing of the Pokemon TCG had helped broaden the scope of that franchise, they launched a deal with them to produce a Harry Potter card game. The game did take some inspiration from Magic the Gathering in the way it played, with some stark differences. Considering the franchise at the time was mainly marketed towards kids, the game was designed to be more accessible for a notably younger audience. You have your lessons, a resource system that essentially imitate basic lands. Spells are like sorceries, you use them and lose them. Creatures, of course, which do damage to the opposing player. And items, which are sort of like artifacts. The game did experiment by having its own Commander-esque character cards because who doesn't want to become their favorite witch or wizard? You start the game with these characters who serve as your de facto stand-in and help guide your playstyle. Interactions are kept simple. Creatures deal damage to players automatically in their own phase, and each player is allowed 2 actions to play cards during their turn. The goal of the game is to do damage to the other player, keeping score by way of... No, not that, anything but that, no! Lifedecking. Lifedecking was an infamous design craze of many early trading card games. Designers knew that keeping track of your life total was one more thing for players to process, and one more thing that could go wrong. So why not have the cards themselves keep track of your life for you? If you're dealt, let's say, 3 points of damage, you simply put 3 cards from the top of your deck into your discard pile. When you're out of cards in your deck to draw from, you lose the game. This does introduce some fantastic tension in gameplay, asking players to consider whether or not they should draw more from their deck at the cost of getting closer to defeat. But there was one fatal flaw that brought Lifedecking to its knees. Players want to play their cards, not watch them go to the discard pile without being used. While this concept might have fallen out of favor with the majority of games, it's not the worst thing in the world if your game is designed around it. Just ask Sammy from the Harry Potter TCG Revival Project, a group of fans who continue to play the game to this day.
I can understand why people don't like it. I fully understand that. I think that it's a really interesting mechanic because it makes you think more about deck building and what cards let me get cards back from my discard pile, which most decks have some way to pull a card out of your discard pile because you just need to, and that's kind of how the game is designed. The community has really just embraced it. It's what the game is kind of built on. It's just what the game does. So there really hasn't been community pushback on that at all.
As a gameplay mechanic, it's a fascinating relic of its time. And it certainly didn't stop the game from its early success. I could only find one source for this, but SFGate claimed it was the second best-selling game in the States at its inception. Maybe Wizards of the Coast had a winner on their hands.
Harry Potter's fans, they're young, and midnight, this is kind of late for them. It's past their bedtime for many of them. But look around and you can see, obviously, lots of muggle moms and dads think tonight is worth an exception.
But licensing isn't some golden ticket to printing unlimited money. With it comes a lack of control, both creatively and in business strategy. This is something our mysterious source wanted to emphasize. And I do want to clarify before I do the bit that I did indeed speak with a former Wizards of the Coast employee, someone who had a hand in helping design the game. But they want to remain elusive, that rascal. So to respect their wishes, we're keeping it anonymous, and it allows me to do this fun reenactment with a monster voice instead. It's also important to note that they left the company before the card game's official discontinuation. So while they provide fantastic insight, any reason given for the actual killing of the game is more of a best guess than a definitive statement of fact.
The licensor was difficult to work with. The higher level execs there were great, but Warner low level execs in charge really slowed down our process. We wanted the contract for the same reason as the first Pokemon contract. We could get to market faster than most other licensed products, which is of great value to eliminate market confusion. Warner delayed our launch, either accidentally or on purpose, by many months, so we came out at the exact same time as all the other licensed material. We also had to have packaging that matched everyone else. It was very hard to differentiate the brand from other licensed product in a lot of venues, bookstores especially. That definitely hurt initial sales and acceptance, which were great anyway, but not at the level they could have been.
As our source indicates, being bound to agreements with executives who have their best interests in mind, not necessarily yours or your products, can lead to complications even before the release. We sometimes see this happen to other card games that make these deals. How appeasing the franchise you're licensing from can impact the quality of your product. I can definitely see customer confusion being an issue if you're competing with all the other Harry Potter products at the same time and aren't allowed to differentiate your card game from the Birdie Bots every flavor beans on the shelves. The comparison to Pokemon is especially interesting. Unlike in Harry Harry Potter, Wizards of the Coast controlled the translation, printing, and distribution of Pokemon cards. They controlled the timing of releases, as evidenced by an irregular release pattern compared to their Japanese counterparts. This meant they could capitalize on the market craze before the Pokemon bubble burst, which did actually happen. Look at this quote from a New York Times article in 2001. An 11-year-old boy lamenting that he should have sold his base set cards for triple the value while he could. Ah, those were the days. I definitely held on to all my old base set cards and made a killing myself. Gave them away in a shoebox somewhere, Goodwill had them. Wizards did not have the same freedom with the Harry Potter TCG, forced to adhere to the schedule and whims of Warner Brothers. Despite this, the card game did release 4 more expansions at a relatively even pace. A release schedule that gave fans new cards to play with without overwhelming them. The 3 expansions following the base set had 80 base cards plus 30 special foil or hologram rares, an exciting technology at the time. Quidditch Cup released on November 2001, Diagon Alley in March 2002, and Adventures at Hogwarts in June 2002. The 5th and final expansion set, Chamber of Secrets, was the first set to pull its themes from the 2nd book, and it came out, you guessed it, 1 month before the 2nd movie. It was after this 5th set that Wizards of the Coast pulled the plug on the beloved game, and no public explanation was ever given. It sounds like an odd move considering the franchise's immense popularity that was only growing as the mid-2000s went along. There's been a ton of speculation bandied around the internet, like this lawsuit against a former employee accusing them of trading insider secrets, leading to Wizards having to pay a larger amount of money on a contract to print the game than they would have otherwise. But personally, I don't think that this sort of internal dispute would have any implication on printing a game based after one of the world's largest IPs. And I'd like to avoid speculation without basis if possible anyway. However, my source was able to list some of the difficulties that the game faced, things that may have served as possible reasons for the eventual discontinuation.
It was a very good game and we got a lot of positive fan feedback. In fact, we still do after all these years. Hasbro and Wizards always viewed outside IP back in that time with a little bit of suspicion. Any short-term contract without some automatic renewal clause or many years of continued trust was just going to have a negative feeling to it for them because of lack of control. The license fees were very high, as with any major brand, and TCGs require a lot of investment. So the combination of a lack of long-term contract with the fees with decent but not great sales probably meant it was going to get cut much faster than games making far less.
So, there you have it. Sometimes even the power of one of the world's largest and most popular franchises isn't enough to save a game. It makes every card game that does last the test of time seem like an outright miracle. The Harry Potter TCG went dark and was kept out of the light for many years. But over time, a group of fans have taken a second look at the game and felt like it was never given the time it deserved to truly blossom. And thus, in 2015, superfan Stefan Coisson became the change he wanted to see in the world and launched the Harry Potter TCG Revival Project. At first, this community set to play the game the classic way, to bring the old game back to life. But since 2020, with everyone pulling together, they've managed to design, test, and release 5 full sets and a handful of mini sets. The first Harry Potter TCG sets released in 18 years. With all new original art from artists around the world, you'd expect this to be an expensive endeavor, no? Sammy tells us how this might not be the case.
First, I want to say that it's all volunteers, so we don't pay anybody because we don't want to get into the legal components of everything. So everything is volunteer-based, which is an incredible thing that people are willing to devote time and talent to this. But there's a core group of, I would say, like 3 that have been on since 2019 when the actual design started. Then we have 1 or 2 devs who help with the Accio website and our other electronic platforms. We had a graphic artist that started all the templating and a lot of the visuals that we use. And then we have probably a dozen or two artists from around the world who are just really interested in sharing their view of what Harry Potter looks like. Rough answer is, if you include all those people, like over 30.
It's amazing how all these volunteers come and put this thing together. And Sammy's right, you absolutely can't pay anybody or you might find yourselves in hot water with the rights holders. So no money is involved or goes to anybody affiliated with the Harry Potter IP. Which begs the question, how are people getting their hands on these cards if the Harry Potter Revival Project isn't selling them?
Most dead TCGs were fairly cheap. And then COVID hit and prices skyrocketed. Lots of issues there, which is really too bad, because a dead card game where it's not being printed, I believe that anybody should have access to it that wants to play it. So what we have tried to do is everything we release for free for people. We have two major websites that we kind of keep up to date. One of them is akio.cards, and it's really just a card database that's going to give you everything you need for every single card. When we play tournaments, they're all online through a free platform, so people never have to pay money. Well, you have to pay for the internet, but other than that, you don't have to pay for any platforms or anything. And then people can also download these high version or high quality whatever versions of the original 5 sets and print them out for free as well. And we have a watermark on there, so you can't print them out and sell them, but we just want people to have access to this game as much as possible. So in paper and on digital, we are doing as much as we can to just give people access.
You can actually print any cards from the database, both original and the new designs. I admit this was my first attempt trying laminating my cards for a thicker feel, so they came out a little wonky. But after some tinkering, I've gotten much better at making my proxies in both glossy and matte versions. And no matter which version of the game you'd like to play, whether it's the nostalgia of the old or the innovation of the new, they have you covered.
The community itself has a bunch of players who play Classic and a bunch of players who want to play all of the new cards and see these new sets coming out. And so we wanted to have a format that was as true as possible to how Wizards of the Coast left the game back in 2003. Classic is really great if you love hyper competitive, much more like control-y kind of games. So Classic is for those people who want that experience. Revival has a ban list, it has an errata list, really to kind of bring the original game into where we're going as a new design team. Revival also has a sideboard, mulligan. Revival plays best 2 out of 3, Classic is usually best of 1. So Revival really focuses on trying to amplify that and remove a lot of the issues, whereas Classic is, I want to play the original game, I really want to enjoy that, and both of them have their place.
When I first found out about the Revival project, I was touched. Yes, it's interesting and, I admit, fun to learn about how card games die. There's nothing wrong with a fascination in the morbid. But in an often harsh and unforgiving world, it's incredible to see a group of people come together and keep the flames lit on this magical card game so that a whole new generation of people can enjoy. What? I don't have a Voldemort costume at home, okay? I have this costume, but don't ask what. You know what? Enough questions. Enough questions. Vince, play me out. Special thanks to Frank's Hobbies for letting me use so much of his footage in the intro. You can check out his channel, description in the link below, as is for the music by the always amazing Vince Kai-chan. You can check out his music in the links below. If you'd like to tell me about your experience with Harry Potter and the TCG when you were a kid, or maybe you're playing it today, please comment and I'd love to hear about it. And until then, stay hydrated and live a beautiful life. We only have one life. Live it beautifully. Bye-bye.